we're going to start from Amar Rav.
Brush your beard. That's a regular picture.
It's 9 lines down from the top. Amar Rav, my time with the Rabbanon, the Amri, Eily Mashim Tali al Davish is the The Rabbi said, they argued with Rabbi Eliezer, that they said, oh, I'm sorry, I skipped the first Amar Rav, we didn't do that. My time with the Amrulai, we skipped that one. I'm sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
This is the
8 lines down, yeah.
This guy's bring every day for...
Yeah, Baba and Buta would bring every day. They told him, don't bring every day, wait till the day after Yom Kippur. You skip one day. So the question is, what's the reason for that opinion? So Amar Rav, my time with the Amrulai. What's the reason for the opinion of the Amrulai? Amar Kra Shalais Yasana V'Ashem. If he will not do, and he'll be guilty. Now, how does that prove? Because what we're saying here, even though if it's a lav, you see, they're the only opinion that holds that it doesn't need to be karas. The Rabbi holds that Asham Tali is brought for something that's karas. Rabbi Lezer holds it's brought for anything just as a donation. This is the opinion that holds that it needs to be brought for some sort of sin, but it doesn't need to be karas. So Ashelei Sasena for any something that you weren't supposed to do means any lav, any sort of sin that could have happened even the day after Yom Kippur. So even if it's not karas, that's good enough. Amar Rav Maitam de Rabbanon. What's the reason for the rabbis that say it needs to be a karas sin? That it needs to be a special type of sin for that you're not sure if it was done. Then the Asham Tala is brought. We learn from Chatas Chelev. Chatas Chelev is a regular Chatas that's brought if someone needs Chelev or something similar type of sin. Lahalon, just like over there, says the Dene Kars V'Shigase Chatas. It's something that if it's done on purpose, it's karas, but if it's done by unintentionally, it's a sin offering. Afkan Davish says Dene Kars V'Shigase Chatas. Also, the Hashem Tali is brought the same. What's wrong? Here, take this. This is the.
Question. So an Asham Tali doesn't have any relationship to an Asham Vadai?
No. It's more closely related to a Chatas than an Asham Vadai. The only relationship it has to an Asham Vadai is according to Rabbi Akiva that says that you bring an Asham Tali if you're not sure if you did Me'ilah. Otherwise, it's not really related to it. Tanu Rabbanon, it was taught in the Bais, Chamisha Hashamis Mechaprim. There's 5 Hashamis that atone. Asham Tali ain't Mechaper. Skip the Kapar Gemara, take that out. Asham Tali doesn't atone. My Kamar, what does this mean? 5 atone, Asham Tali doesn't atone. Amar Rabbi Yosef Hachid Kamar, this is what it means. Rabbi Yosef. Chamisha Hashamis Mechaprim Kapar Gemara. There's 5 Hashamis that have a complete kapara. That means that they do a full atonement. Those are the Asham Vadais. Asham Tali ain't mechaper kapara gemur, but Asham Tali does not do the complete kapara. But like Rabbi Lezer, and not like Rabbi Lezer, the Amar Asham Tali bal and ala nevela. Rabbi Eliezer said that you can bring an Asham Tali for a nevela. Nevela means that it's just a lav, it's not karas. It's not. You don't have to bring a chatas afterwards if someone eats nevela. It's just a regular negative prohibition. If that's the case, then when you bring the Asham Tali for the nevela, even if you find out later that you sinned, but you already have, this is the full atonement. There is no other punishment. So here we said, Asham Tali is not mechaper. I'll give you one case that an Asham Tali is the full kapara, and that's if you bring it for nevela. According to Rabbi Lezer. Okay. Because there's no other kapara other than that. We're trying to say that Asham Tali is not mechaper because you need to bring a chatas really. when you find out that you actually did it. But over here, even if you find out, there's no other atonement because he holds that you bring an Asham Tali for even minor sins.
What was the thing we did where it was an Asham? I thought it was an Asham Tali, but the problem was with Malika, it would become an Avela, and then you would have to go and bury it or something. You know, remember? The woman was bringing something. She wasn't sure, and
Woman brings a chatas and then Eily.
the problem was something about if they do a malika and it was not what we thought it would be, then it would be in the vela.
Right.
And then you had to bury the
right. We're going to have that soon.
Okay, because
Ravina has a new pshat in this Bais, in the Tanur Rabbanon. Ravina says like this: Ravina Amar Hachi Kamar. Chamish Ashamis Ein Acher Mechaper Kaparasan. Ravina says that there's nothing else that atones for these 5 sins. That means Yom Kippur doesn't atone for these 5 sins. Because even after Yom Kippur, if you find out, you still have to bring the Asham Vadai. Asham Taloi, Acher Mechaper Kaparase, that there is another atonement for it, that is Yom Kippur. If you find out that you need to bring an Asham Taloi after Yom Kippur, you don't have to bring it. Because Yom Kippur did the atonement. Kidditanan, as it was taught in our Mishnah. If it's a Asham Vada, a definite guilt offering, you did one of those 5 sins. So after Yom Kippur, he still has to bring the Karban if he didn't bring it beforehand. Yom Kippur doesn't affect it. But if it's a doubtful guilt offering that's brought because of a doubt, after Yom Kippur, you don't have to bring it. Not if you find out that you did it for sure. If you find out that you did it by mistake after Yom Kippur, so the Yom Kippur resolved that already. Not by mistake.
Words,
if you find out that you might have done it.
In other words, you find out after Yom Kippur that it's possible you may have to give it, then it's since already part.
Yeah.
So it's only when? So it's only if you did it after
It's
Yom
only
Kippur?
if it was the sin, this Yom Kippur would be either before Yom Kippur or after Yom Kippur, but Yom Kippur did not pass by since the sin.
What if you just on Yom Kippur?
So in other words, I should chill.
If it's on Yom Kippur, so we said that every section of Yom Kippur atones.
So you just do it and it's automatically kapara?
Yeah. If you're not sure, it would be automatically.
Corporate sponsorship, by the way.
I mean, either consumer,
All-star customer.
All-star consumer VIP. You know, you eat too much in a restaurant when they're giving you T-shirts.
I traded him a towel.
Oh.
Chai v'chatzais v'ashamis v'adayin chulu. Said, if Yom Kippur passes, then you still have to bring after Yom Kippur. By an Asham Tali, you're pater. Ketani.
Why wouldn't Yom Kippur be mechaper?
We'll see. This Gemara. Ketani chayav chatais v'ashamis v'adayin. If it's a chatas or an asham vadai, vadai means definite. He definitely did the sin. Shavar aleim Yom Kippurim. That Yom Kippur passed. Chayav l'havei lach Yom Kippurim. You have to bring the atonement after Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur doesn't help for this. Chayav v'ashamis tzulim p'turim. But if it's an asham tali where he's not sure if he did the sin, he's going to bring an asham tali just in case he did the sin, so Yom Kippur atones.
But is the not sure if he did the sin or halachic?
Yeah.
Like confusion? Like
There were 2 pieces of meat. He ate one of them. And he doesn't know which one, if he ate the chaylev or he ate
South Florida,
the
one was the original. He doesn't know which one is which.
From where do we know that this is about this distinction that we're going to have over here?
Shots fired.
A very interesting discussion, because Rav Dimi is going to bring a statement. Rabbi is going to question it, offer his own statement. Then we're going to have Ravin who's going to come. Rav Dimi and Ravin are both travelers. So let's see. Kiyasa Rav Dimi, and Rav Dimi came. Amar Rab Ami, Amar Rab Chanina. He brought in the name of Rab Ami, in the name of Rab Chanina, Damar Kra. It says in the pasuk, "V'chiper ala kodesh mitumis bnei Yisrael shem l'chol chateisim." It will atone. This is on Yom Kippur. The the sin offering will atone for the Pishayim. Is Pishayim translated as iniquities or something? Or they're rebellious sins, that's what it says. L'chol chataisim, in their unintentional sins. Chatoim dumi de Pishayim. The unintentional, similar to the rebellious. Ma Pishayim delav b'nei karban, just like the rebellious sins. If it's any the sin is done on purpose, you don't bring a carbon. There's a few exceptions to that. But normally, if the sin is committed on purpose, you don't bring the carbon. The carbon is only brought for an unintentional sin. So, af chatoim delav b'nei. Yeah, pretty much. Someone violates Shabbos on purpose, he doesn't bring a sin offering. It's only by mistake he brings.
It says Kashem Pshayim is
usually not. Usually, right. That's b'mezid.
I think someone does it b'mezid.
So the sin offerings are for the mistakes. On purpose, usually it's either kares, or if there's warning, then it's a death penalty. It's more serious. He does it on purpose. And if he was warned, it's even more serious here. So we're making a comparison. What does it's in the book, we read about it. What does the Yom Kippur atone for? Chatoim, unintentional sins, similar to Pishayim. That just like Pishayim, rebellious sins, you don't bring a carbon for. So therefore, Chatoim b'la b'nei carbon mechaper. Also, sins that you don't have a carbon for, that's what Yom Kippur atones for. Aval Chatoim b'nei carbon le mechaper, but Yom Kippur doesn't atone for b'nei carbon, for sins that you have to bring a sacrifice. Here's our source. Rav Dimi brought it from Eretz Yisrael, from Rabbi, from Chanina. It's much earlier. Amalei Abaya says, "Vakiksev hadein kra." But that pasuk, "B'sar hanasa b'fnim hu d'ksiv." You're quoting to me a pasuk from the goat that was brought inside. There were two goats. One was brought as a sacrifice, and one was sent by Azazel. So you're quoting to me one of the goats, one of the psukim. That goat, d'ksiv. That doesn't atone for known mitzvahs. But the sar mishtaleach, the goat that sent off the cliff, that's a much bigger atonement. That atones for mitzvahs yidua, for sins that he knows that he committed, and that sacrifice maybe atones for more than what you're suggesting. Abaya says, I have another verse. In this verse, he says, when he does a confession over the goat that sent off the cliff, here it says the pasuk, Kol Peshem, Kol Chataisam, and it says Chatam Dumi de Pesham. Over here we have the unintentional sins similar to the rebellious sins. Ma Pesham B'la B'nei Karban, Af Chatam B'la B'nei Karban. Just like the unintentional sins just like the rebellious sins don't have a sacrifice, so too the unintentional sins don't have a sacrifice. But the sins that are that do have sacrifices, it does not. Yom Kippur doesn't atone. And it's excluding this pasuk by Sar Mishlech is excluding sins that have a sacrifice. Yom Kippur doesn't work for it. Amalei Rav Dimi. So Rav Dimi responds to Abaya Mimai. How do you know? Rav Dimi was the one that brought the first source, and Abaya gives him another source because he rejected Rav Dimi's source. Rav Dimi responds,
"Why are you questioning whether it's Rav Dimi or not?"
No, that we know. Just Rav Dimi brought a source from the Sar Hanasa Bifnim.
Right.
Abaya brings a source from Sar Hamishtaleach.
Yeah.
Right. Rav Dimi responds, how do you know, according to you, that Pshayim are not B'nei Karban? Dilmahani de B'nei Karbanenu. Maybe those are special Pshayim, those are special rebellious sins that have a Karban. Kitnan Arba Mivim al Zadin Kishkaga. There are 4 cases that we learned on Daf Tes. Those 4 cases that even rebellious sins have sacrifices. Those 4 were someone that lives with a Shifcha Charufa, or someone that's administered an oath about testimony, or someone that swears that he doesn't have an object that he was holding, or a nazir that becomes tameh. Those are sins that, even though they're done intentionally, there still is a sacrifice. Those are exceptions. Maybe it's talking about that. Itmanami. Okay, that's a question. Itmanami, we have another statement. Kiyasa Ravin, Amar Rabbi Yosi, Amar Rish Lakish. Ravin comes. He says in the name of Rabbi Yosi, in the name of Rish Lakish. It's interesting because Ravin doesn't need to bring from them. Ravin was coming from Eretz Yisrael. Rabbi Yosi, oh, he does. Amar Rabbi Yosi, Amar Rish Lakish. Which Rabbi Yosi? He's bringing from Eretz Yisrael also. I'm not familiar. Which Rabbi Yosi is this?
I need to get a copy of that. So somebody
maybe it's like a Rabasi. Probably like a Rabasi.
I need to get that for my nephew.
Just buy the book.
The book? What book?
It says, Vesvado, this is what Ravin brings. Vesvado, Allah v'skol avenis b'nei Yisrael, v'skol p'shem l'chol chatoisam. Chatoim dumid p'shayim. Those are the sins that are similar to p'shayim. P'shayim are the rebellious sins. Ma p'shayim d'lav b'nei korban mechaper, af chatoim d'lav b'nei korban mechaper. Just like p'shayim, rebellious sins don't bring sacrifices. And Yom Kippur atones. So too, chatoim, unintentional sins that there are no sacrifices for, Yom Kippur atones. Aval chatoim d'bnei korban le'mechaper. Okay, so that's exactly what Rav Dimi said. Is that correct? No, that's exactly what Abaya told Rav Dimi in the last way of reading this. And now Abaya says, Amar Abaya non nami mi'adein k'ra'amri. Abaya says, I also tried to bring that pasuk, but actually Rav Dimi. But Rav Dimi asked me a good question on that. How do you know those pshayim, those rebellious sins, don't have a sacrifice? Maybe those are the exceptions that do have the sacrifice. So Rabbi is quoting Rav Dimi's question to Ravin. Amalei Ravin Rav P'shem Labnei Karban. Says those are exceptions. Most rebellious sins don't have a sacrifice. Amalei Midi Rav Ksiv. I see Abaya's defending the question. He's saying, does it say majority of the sins? It says all the sins. Elam Rabbi Meresha Dekra. Abaya now has to redo this. He says, Vesvado Alavas Kalavinis B'nei Yisrael. Will confess of all the Avinas. How do they translate Avinas? Iniquities. Right? Avinas, another type of sin. Britannia, and it was taught in the Bais, Avinas Elu Zedainis. Avinas, those are the ones that are intentional. V'chinu Aimer Avina Ba. The sin is in it, in her. That's intentional. V'eskol P'shayim, the pasuk continues, L'chol Chataisam. Lamali Lakushi L'Pshayim. Why do I need to mention Pshayim? Ma Pshayim D'lav B'nei Karban, Av Chataim D'lav B'nei Karban, Av Chataim D'b'nei Karban in Olay Mechaper. So here he's saying that we have an extra word. We could have gotten Zedainos from Avinas. And it says Pshayim. So Pshayim is totally extra. Why is it saying Pshayim? It's coming to tell me that Yom Kippur only atones for sins that there's no sacrifice for. What about Chayav Yashav? Now we'll see Hashem Tali. We'll see that here. Minani Mili. How do we know that an Hashem Tali Yom Kippur does work for? Amar Rabbi Lazar Makram Mikol Chateisechem Lefnei Hashem. From all your sins in front of Hashem. Chet she'in makabay ala makam Yom Kippur mechaper. A sin that only Hashem knows about. That if it's definite, that's what Yom Kippur works for.
Oh, very good.
So that means if you're not sure if you did the sin, so then Yom Kippur works. So Yom Kippur helps for an Hashem Tali.
So what about ones that don't have any? So for ones that you
don't have a sacrifice, or sins that you don't know 100%.
Okay.
But not intentional.
And intentional. Yom Kippur works for intentional also.
But only intentional ones that don't have.
Only intentional that don't have, not those four that have.
So you're saying, let's just say you're Machal Shabbos, you don't give a carbon, you're about to eat death, and then you're Yom Kippur, you don't die in the end?
Machal Shabbos with Asra, without Asra.
disturb his whole
With the warning, then he has to go to Beis Din. It's going to be a death penalty.
Sounds like this Yom Kippur is a pretty good thing.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
So if there wasn't Asra?
If there wasn't Asra, then there's Karas. And I'm not sure what Yom Kippur does to Karas. I'm not sure. It could be that... what does it say? Al Shleisha Kapara Karas B'Yom.
Yeah, so Ben Duta could have been more patient and waited for Yom Kippur every year, right? Because he brought something he was just wanted to be sure if he had done something wrong, but he didn't know.
Right.
So there was no specific carbon.
Right. That's why they told him after Yom Kippur, wait a day, because Yom Kippur worked already. Amar Rav Tachlifa, Avua de Rav Huna. I don't know if this is a joke. Bar Tachlifa. I mean, that's obvious.
What do you mean?
Right? Someone added that in. You follow? Rav Tachlifa, the father of Rav Huna Bar Tachlifa. My Gemara takes it out. Mishmei de Rava says the name of Rava. Kadmaisa nami leilei say. Lemifshatei. The first halachas that we just learned, that someone that has to bring a carbon, we should not answer it. Someone that has to bring a carbon, we said that Yom Kippur doesn't help. We shouldn't use Lemid Rav Dimi, Lemid Abaya. We shouldn't use Rav Dimi's answer. We shouldn't use Abaya's answer. Elameha, we have a better answer. What we just said. What did we just say by Dashim Tali? Said a sin that only Hashem knows about. Yom Kippur atones for. Umine, and from this we can understand. If Hashem knows about it only, then Yom Kippur atones. But if you know about it, then Yom Kippur doesn't atone, and that's the reason why you have to bring it a carbon after Yom Kippur. We didn't need all of those answers. It's only sins that Hashem knows about only.
So why did they
exclusively
know that Rabbi Tarfon? Or was it? No, the person who would do a carbon every day. Yes, why wouldn't they let him do it after Yom Kippur?
He didn't know about any sins. He was just doing it just in case. His opinion was different. His opinion was that you can bring it just as a donation. He held there needs to be some sort of sin. So they told him that...
But if he brings it as a donation, actual...
That he could bring it the following day. He said he would bring it every day, but they didn't let him. They held differently. So, there were Hasidic rabbis that would say, all the mitzvahs that you remember that you did, then Hashem forgets about them. The mitzvahs that you forget about, those are the ones that Hashem remembers. So here we're saying it's the Averis. It's the Averis that you know about that Yom Kippur doesn't work. It's because those you have to bring the sacrifice. The Averis that only Hashem knows about, that you don't know about, that's what Yom Kippur works.
Convenient to have all of a sudden have a lapse of memory.
Amar Rav Tachlifa Avua de Rav Huna. Rav Tachlifa says, Rav Tachlifa, the father of Rav Huna, Mishmei de Rava says, Chayvi Malkus. This is interesting. Someone that's Chayiv Malkus. Shavar Leim Yom Kippurim, he's Chayiv. Yom Kippur passes, he still has to get Malkus. Pshita, that's obvious. What's the difference in someone that has to bring a sin offering or a guilt offering? He has to bring that carbon. Well, it's important that he says this, because it could have entered your mind to say, over there he has to spend his money. And he didn't spend his money yet. So Yom Kippur doesn't help. But over here it's just a physical body, his lashes on his body. We would say maybe Yom Kippurim works. He fasted. That's good enough. Kamash Malan, that Yom Kippur doesn't help for that. V'anan Tanan, 1 second. But we learned in a Mishnah, Haida v'lay Haida, Asay v'lay Asay, that Yom Kippur helps if he knows, if he doesn't know, and for Asay, and for a Lais Asay. Like Kasha. Hada Asr Hada Lay Asr When we said over here that it works for a Lais Asay we're assuming means Malkus. That's only if he was warned. But if he wasn't warned and there's no Malkus for it, so then Yom Kippur does atone. Yom Kippur does atone. Elameyata, but if this is the case,
so you shouldn't warn people.
Yeah, if they get warned, then the punishment is. Elameyata, if this is the case, okay, what the Gemara is gonna do here, it's gonna give us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cases of doubt where we're gonna suggest that maybe Yom Kippur should absolve the person from doing this. The cases are a woman that's not sure if she gave birth to a child, a Mitzaira, a Suffolk Nazir that became Tameh, a Suffolk Saita, and the Suffolk by Egla Rufa.
It's funny. Why did they write it this way? The way they write it.
The apostrophe. What's it called? Not apostrophe. What are these called? Quotation marks. Those are used for many purposes. They're used to emphasize a word. It's like what we would do today, like underlining, and it's also used to show that here it's just being used to show that these are not words that we're reading. It's just a mnemonic. It's like an underline. It's used in many things. The grammarians want to get rid of the apostrophe. They don't like it. It's ugly. What are these marks? I forget. One of the great writers, and maybe Shaw, George Bernard Shaw says, "This ugly thing out of this page" or something. Anyway, okay. So let's go through this Gemara. We'll see if that's the case. Suffix.
So there's an overlap here with the Chamesha Shamot that we learned about on the previous page, right?
What do you mean?
I'm looking at the Rashi. Chamesha Shamot. I think these are all Hashem Vadai, Guzela, Mila, Shifka, Charufa, Nazir, and Mitzora. I just found a little funny.
1 second. Which Rashi are you looking at? On Chafei?
Chafei, Amud Bais. The last one in the long lines on the top.
Oh, yeah. Okay. And what are you saying?
It's funny. There's an overlap here.
To the Simon, you led us Mitzvah Noses.
But also, I thought it was also odd that Rashi brought down these 5.
No, those are the Asham Vadai.
4. Those are all Vadai.
Right.
Asham Vadai.
Right.
I'm confused on the numbers here.
No. There's 5 Asham Vadais, right?
And that's the list.
Yeah, that's the list. Then we had 4 other sins that there's karbanos for, even if it's done b'mezid. Even if it's done b'mezid. And those were Shifcha Charufa, not Me'ila, not the Nazir, not the Mitzvah. Those were Shifcha Charufa, Shvus Bikadan, Shvus, those are other 4 things. Now, let's go through this. Elameyat, if this is the case, Safik Yiled Shavar Yom Kippurim. A woman that needs to bring her chatas. Yom Kippur passed by, and what the Gemara is suggesting, Laitese, she shouldn't have to bring her chatas. She gave birth, but we don't know if she really gave birth to a actual child. It could be, we weren't sure what came out. The Hakapra Le Yom Kippurim. She gave birth to something that we're not sure if it was actually a birth.
In other words,
so the grasshopper ones and the
like some sort of mapalach.
Right, some sort of early miscarriage or something. So, Yom Kippur goes by, she shouldn't have to bring a chatas. The chet shein makabay ala makamu. It's a sin that only Hashem knows about.
What did she do wrong?
It's very true.
Let's see. Amar Abayshia, l'chol chataisam, loy l'chol tumaisam. She's not bringing a chatas for a sin. She's bringing a chatas for purification. She didn't do anything wrong. Ula Rab Shimon ben Yochai, Amar Yoledas Chaitas. What about Rab Shimon ben Yochai's opinion? He says that every time a woman gives birth, she makes a promise that she's never going to have another child because of the pain that she's going through. She says, I'm never going to do this again. So she sinned because obviously she's giving, I don't know how that answers for the first baby, but for the second baby there's a sin.
Also, how can a mother could decide not to give birth and she won't?
Well, I guess she won't be with her husband anymore. So, So over here there is a sin. The Gemara answers, she doesn't bring it for atonement, the chatas. She brings the karban just to allow her to eat kachim. So where does she get atonement for her sin that she took a vow she's never gonna have another child? That she gets atonement, Rashi says, from the pain that she has when she is giving birth. That's the atonement. The karban is just to allow her to eat karbanis. So it's not a sin offering here, and that's why Yom Kippur doesn't work.
Well, does that baby count as a baby? So say she give birth to one of those grasshoppers or a bag full of blood. Does that count as a baby?
If it's a suffix, right? We weren't sure if it was a baby, so it's a suffix here. So
if I can just interject, it sounds like there are really two different cases. When a woman gives birth to a full-term or preterm baby, you're dealing with a relatively large baby, and therefore the pain is great. And they say that these situations are probably early first trimester, if you're talking about non-formed into a fetus, that there's a question. And the amount of pain, although I'm sure it's painful, comparatively, I don't think, I don't know that they would necessarily make that...
more of a high discomfort than a later...
Yeah. It's a question. Amar Ravashi, it's an interesting point. Amar Ravashi, I can't comment.
Neither can I. That's
Afana Nami Tanina.